Hey, what's going on everyone? Greg here, and when you look at all of the products that Apple released in 2021, there was something for everyone, from the iPhone 13 series to the long-awaited iPad mini or the outrageously powerful M1 iPad Pros, the full-screen Apple Watch Series 7, and the first design update to the regular AirPods with AirPods 3, and the most competent Mac releases in years with the first Mac truly designed for the M1 chip with the super colorful M1 iMacs, and the first Pro Max designed with custom Apple silicon with the M1 Pro and M1 Max MacBook Pros, which not only gave us amazing performance in a laptop form factor, but also righted the wrongs of previous Macs by giving us a larger port selection and introducing what I think is a stunning new full-screen design. And the more I think about it, the more I realize that Apple completely dominated 2021. Almost all of the products I mentioned before were met with rave reviews, and even Apple as a company is so close to becoming the first $3 trillion stock company. Whatever. Like, it's very likely we'll see them cross that $3 trillion threshold very soon into 2022. And as hard as it is to believe, with this much success for Apple that last year, I think that 2022 stands to be an even bigger year for Apple, with more product releases and perhaps new product strategies that will have them dominating the industry all over again. Now, from a chronological timeline perspective, I think this will start early next year, with our first event being sometime in the spring, with most Apple events for this time usually occurring around March. And at this March hypothetical event, I think we will see some important products, but one of them might actually be more important than I initially thought, with a revised version of the iPhone SE. Now, on paper, this iPhone SE doesn't sound like anything special. The same design as last year's iPhone SE with an A15 chip and 5G capabilities. And when you look at those two changes, it does sound kind of lackluster. Sure, having the most powerful smartphone at a low price point is definitely a bragging right, but the entire package still being in the outdated iPhone 8 body in 2022, yeah, it's a little hard to get excited for. However, we may see Apple take an even more aggressive strategy with this year's iPhone SE, with some recent rumors saying that the price could be anywhere from $269 to $399. Now, while it's hard to get excited for this phone at $400, an iPhone SE at $350, or dare I say $300, could be a really enticing deal. And that could just seal the iPhone's fate at dominating the lower end market. Of course, there's other products like a new iPad Air, which could come in the spring, and important updates to this will fix what is currently a pretty awkward iPad lineup, with the Air lacking the A15 chip of the cheaper iPad mini and the center stage camera feature, which is on every other iPad besides the Air. Most exciting to me is that we should be getting our first look at Apple's first pro-level desktop computers with the 27-inch iMac, or iMac Pro, and the pro-level Mac Mini. The iMac Pro should be a complete redesign from the previous 27-inch iMac, looking possibly like a more pro version of the M1 iMac with a thicker body and more ports. And we should see things like a big 27-inch mini LED display with ProMotion, which would just make this one of the best looking desktop displays in the entire industry, with a 1,000,000:1 contrast ratio and 1600 nits of peak brightness for HDR video. The crazier thing is that that's just the display, and this iMac will have an entire computer behind it, and it should be a powerhouse, with it at least receiving the same M1 Pro and M1 Max chips like the recent MacBook Pros, which could be a big bump up in performance over the current Intel desktop iMac. But perhaps they may add an even more powerful chip with either a dual M1 Pro or dual M1 Max chip. And that would make the iMac Pro an even bigger jump up over the current laptops in terms of performance, and a sneak preview of what's capable on the Mac Pro, which we'll talk about later in this video. Of course, the Mac Mini should come out next to this iMac, which could feature a redesign with a plexiglass top, according to John Prosser, but it should still be a pretty similar philosophy to the current Mac Mini, a small desktop with a good port selection and, no internal display or no included keyboard or mouse, and Apple can just deliver a desktop computer at a lower cost, but with the performance unseen before in a Mac Mini. That's because this Mac Mini should come with the M1 Pro and M1 Max chips, again, making this the most powerful Mac Mini yet and a huge jump up from previous Intel versions. And if they price it correctly, it should be a really good bargain for pro users. As for the pricing of both these machines, when I think about it, I think the iMac will be expensive. I think it will probably start above the 16-inch MacBook Pro, so that's either at a $2,500 starting price or more likely, I think, a $3,000 starting price, especially if they go with that iMac Pro branding. They could even pitch this as a deal, right? Like the previous iMac Pro started at $5,000, so they could be like, we took the iMac Pro, we made it better, and we dropped the price by $2,000, even though if you came from a 27-inch iMac, you're like, this is a price increase. For the Mac Mini, I think that'll be a lot more reasonable. I think it'll start around $1,300, but that will come with starting storage of 512 gigabytes, and then for memory, 16 gigabytes as well, because if you look at the M1 Pro MacBook Pros, those are the starting configurations, so I would expect that to be the same on the Mac Mini. With those spring products out of the way, we should probably flash forward to Apple's next likely event, which should be their annual Worldwide Developers Conference, which usually takes place in June. And at this event, we will of course see new software for iOS 16, iPadOS 16, watchOS 9, macOS 13, but this year, we also stand a good chance at seeing some hardware announced at this event, and that hardware will likely be in the form of a new half-size Mac Pro with Apple Silicon. This Mac Pro will be the most powerful Mac in Apple's lineup, truly suited for pro tasks, and because of this, it will come with its own beefier set of Apple Silicon, with Mark Gurman from Bloomberg reporting that we will see multiple configurations of the Mac Pro with a low-end variant sporting two M1 Max chips with a 20-core CPU design and a 64 GPU core design. On the highest end, Gurman says that Apple will actually bundle 4 of these M1 Max chips together to create a Frankenstein chipset of 40 CPU cores and 128 GPU cores, which I think would just cement this as a technological prowess of power. It'll be a powerhouse. Like imagining 4 M1 Max chips together, working together. Honestly, I can't even comprehend what that will look like. Other details remain on this Mac Pro, like how expandable it will be, or if it will even be expandable, but in terms of Apple Silicon, this will be the ultimate test of what Apple is capable of when it is unleashed and unconstrained from smaller form factors, and we will be able to see what their crack chip team is able to do with a full desktop-sized computer. At this event, we should also see Apple emerge with even more displays, as there are rumors that Apple is working on 3 new displays: a 24-inch display, which will be very similar to the M1 iMac, a 27-inch external display, which should have mini LED capabilities to match the 27-inch iMac Pro, and a brand new 32-inch Pro Display XDR, possibly with a 120Hz refresh rate, and hopefully without a $1,000 stand. After this, we should see another event, probably in September. Of course, this is when we should expect to see Apple's iPhone 14 lineup, which I think is going to be the most successful yet. I know that's a bold claim, but I really think that Apple will dominate with the iPhone 14 for a few reasons. First of all, for this year, we are expecting a new design that could be quite a radical departure from previous iPhone designs. That's because we could see a new design language with a hole punch display, which we've never seen before on an iPhone, and a thicker phone that resembles the design language of an iPhone 4 with an even more flush camera bump. This iPhone could also have a massive camera upgrade, with rumors saying that Apple will include a new 48 megapixel sensor and capabilities to record 8K video. And Apple is already one of the best smartphone cameras on the market, and they clearly dominate already in areas like video recording. So with these new upgrades, it stands to reason that the iPhone 14 could possibly be a massive jump up in camera quality over the already excellent iPhone 13. Finally, I think the iPhone 14 will have the most appealing iPhone lineup ever, and that's because of the rumors that Apple will be discontinuing the unpopular iPhone 13 mini. I know I'm sad about it, but they will introduce a bigger sized iPhone alongside of it. So the iPhone 14 lineup should have a 6.1 inch size iPhone 14, then a 6.7 inch sized iPhone 14 Max, and then both of those phones will have a Pro version, so an iPhone 14 Pro and then an iPhone 14 Pro Max. Now, the reason why I think this will be such a successful lineup, even if this doesn't sound like a big deal to you, is because consumers tend to pick bigger phones. And looking at the sales data, the bigger iPhones tend to sell in droves because of features like the bigger display and the better battery life. A 6.7-inch iPhone 14 Max under $1,000, like around an $800 or $900 price point, could lead to a massive sales increase over previous years, and I think that will actually be the most popular iPhone model for 2022, so book that prediction here. Of course, that's not all we'll expect, right? We'll see a Series 8 Apple Watch, and that actually stands to be a much bigger upgrade over the Series 7, with probably a faster processor and new health sensors like a body temperature sensor, and we could also see an expansion of the Apple Watch lineup with a new Explorer Edition Apple Watch, which could be more durable and have longer battery life, and a brand new model of the Apple Watch SE, which could have a faster processor and an always-on display, and maybe some other upgrades. After the underwhelming Series 7 upgrade, this too should be a big year for the Apple Watch, with more models than ever before, and important updates to the lowest-end Apple Watch. We could also see other popular refreshes sometime throughout the year, like a new AirPods Pro with an updated design, and as we end the year, we are possibly treated to another event, with Apple rumored to be introducing the true next generation of Apple Silicon with their M2 Max. The M2 Max are currently rumored to be a new MacBook Air, which will be even thinner and lighter, feature a full-screen 13-inch display, and come with MagSafe charging and 2 USB-C ports. We also may have an update to the MacBook Pro with a new M2 chip that will bring some of the popular design traits of the new MacBook Pro down to a friendlier price point, and of course the M2 Mac Mini, which will probably just be a Mac Mini with an M2 chip inside of it. The M2 chip's performance will be even more powerful in single-core performance, and that will carry over into increased multi-core performance as well, but it should still be weaker than the M1 Pro chips in multi-core and GPU performance, especially for GPU, because the M2 chip is rumored to come with a maximum of 10 GPU cores, while the M1 Pro chip has 16 GPU cores, and of course the Max chip can go up to 32 GPU cores. Of course, this won't be the only M2 product, as Apple is also working on a new iPad Pro that could come with an all-new design. This design supposedly will have a glass back with support for MagSafe or wireless charging, and it's rumored that this iPad Pro will also support reverse wireless charging. The 11-inch model should also come with a mini LED display, bringing that amazing display down to the smaller iPad Pro, and then finally in 2022, we may see an entirely new product from Apple, with Apple rumored to be releasing their first VR or AR headset for 2022. And after seeing the recent success for sales that the Oculus Quest 2 saw this holiday season, it actually makes sense to me that Apple would take this year to jump into the VR market. Now, rumors for this headset sound kind of insane, with 2 micro OLED displays, and they should have 8K resolution, up to 15 cameras, advanced sensors, and it could carry a level of Apple polish currently unseen in the VR headset space. Of course, I bring this product up with the M2 chip because this headset is rumored to be using a more powerful version of the M1 chip, so this headset could have all the power of the M2 packed inside of it, and that would make this the most powerful standalone VR headset out in the market right now, which could make it really great for games that require advanced graphics. Still, I'm kind of skeptical that Apple can succeed here given their history with gaming, and with these specs, it does sound like this will be a really expensive headset. However, that's what makes this year so exciting. It's because there's so many unknowns right now with Apple's strategy, but based on everything I outlined here, this year has an insane amount of products, new product strategies, and perhaps new product categories. And just like Apple dominated the game in 2021, I think they're going to dominate even more in 2022, and it might be one of their biggest and most exciting years ever. But basically, that's everything we know about Apple in 2022 so far. There's going to be more updates along this year, so don't worry. And I think this video was a great way to start off the new year, so if you liked it, make sure you give me a like. If you want to see more from me in 2022, make sure you're subscribed. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a happy new year. Let me know in the comments below what your New Year's resolutions are, or what Apple products you're excited for in the new year. And I will see you all in the next video. So take care, everyone. And hey, have a great new year.